So there's a lot of things that have changed in the past few years from an endpoint protection perspective or security perspective for endpoints. And what we've seen is the game's kind of changing quite a bit. What we saw a few years ago is not what we're seeing today. So the rules have certainly changed quite a bit. And what we're seeing is an increase in sophistication and volume of attacks that are out there, as well as more precise targeting. So the bad guys that are out there today are actually targeting specific corporations or organizations with really sophisticated attacks and malware. It's hard for us to identify that malware, and no matter what we're doing from a security strategy perspective, there's a good chance that if someone wants to target us with unknown attacks or very sophisticated types of exploits, that we can actually be compromised despite our best efforts. Another way that the rules are really changing is that our users' expectations and habits have really changed, and they're used to bringing in their own devices, having access to their own applications, and really being delivered new capabilities whenever they want. And what that's really leading to is a diminished visibility and control within IT. And in fact, most IT professionals don't really even know what applications are running in their environment or how those applications are manifesting themselves, because the users are getting access to them and the environment's really changing and morphing right out from underneath a centrally defined IT function. And so what we find is our moves have really become outdated. The way that we've been managing and protecting our endpoints isn't working anymore. And examples of what we need to do better, examples of our shortcomings, are that we have a very OS-centric focus on application patching. So in the past, we've always just patched the operating system, the vulnerabilities were taken care of, and we felt that most of the exploitable surface area that we had was essentially resolved. And what we see today is that third-party applications are being increasingly targeted by attackers. And so just patching the operating system doesn't work. We need to have a very heterogeneous approach to the way that we're removing vulnerabilities in our environment. The other shortcoming that we have is we have a strong reliance on antivirus software, or the concept of blacklisting. I want to know or be able to identify all the bad stuff that's coming at me and the malware that are on my systems. And while that's a relevant part and a valuable part of a protection strategy, what we see is that with all the new sophistication and targeting and sort of boutique malware or one-off malware that's out there, we really don't do a good job at even identifying attacks that are coming at us. Antivirus really has a diminished effectiveness in our environments, and some studies have shown that we're only really capable of identifying maybe even 19 or 20% of attacks that are coming at us. So relying on antivirus as a standalone technology to stop all the attacks that are coming at us really doesn't work anymore. At the end of the day, what we have is a lot of applications that are sort of running rampant in our environment. We've got a lot of patching to do. We've got antivirus that's ineffective, and we really need to start controlling the or understanding what applications are running, controlling the way that new applications are being introduced, and really be able to vet the difference between malware, applications, patching, and put some controls around how new change is introduced. So it's really time to sort of rewrite our rules of engagement and change the way that we're protecting our endpoints and the way that we're really playing this game. And essentially, when we look at the way that attacks occur or compromises are successful, what we see is that at a fundamental level, what's really happening is we have a breakdown in our change control processes. And what I mean by that is that, we don't know what's being introduced into our systems and what's new. We don't have an effective way of understanding, is this new application that's being introduced bad, or is it good and beneficial for my business? And so what we need to do is be able to introduce a level of trust or sort of baseline systems and say, these things that are being introduced are good, as opposed to, I don't know if they're just bad. And we need to be able to do that in an intelligent way. So how do we understand that the new changes that are occurring are trustworthy? And this concept of of introducing a whitelist to our systems in an intelligent way, or intelligent whitelisting, allows us to baseline trust, to understand how changes are occurring, and ensure that the changes that are occurring have proven themselves to us as being beneficial to our environment. Application control has been around for a while, or this concept of locking down systems and saying, okay, I'm going to take a snapshot of a system and nothing new can get on unless it's on a sort of a magical trusted whitelist. And application control historically has had some challenges from a flexibility and management perspective, but there's new approaches to application control, or an intelligent approach to application control, where we can allow changes to occur automatically, but in a trusted manner. So we're making a more flexible application control that still delivers protection, but is much more manageable, much more realistic to deploy in production environments. So basically, at the end of the day, I mean, what we need to do is to have a comprehensive or defense in depth approach to the way that we're managing our endpoints. We still need to pay attention to the fundamentals, the things that we need to do just on a day-to-day operations and management perspective, such as patch management, configuration management. We need to have traditional layers of defense in place, like antivirus, so that we can identify known threats that are out there. But we also need to innovate, and we need to introduce this concept of a trusted environment and the use of an intelligent whitelisting or application control solution that really does a better job at defining how change can occur and what the trusted change in my environment would look like. And when we approach endpoint security and management like that, what we see is a sort of a fusion of managing and securing our systems, so that the way that we're just operating from an operations perspective day to day, we are very effective in the way that we're controlling, protecting, and ensuring that our systems are performing correctly. And, you know, most importantly is really to ensure that we do this in a fashion that we're not impacting our employee productivity, and that we are providing the flexibility that end users are still productive, aren't being inhibited in what they need to do, and that we're not sacrificing productivity for security.